So, as a CEO, let me ask you a question because leadership matters. This is a complicated question. Why is Mark Zuckerberg distrusted, disliked, and sometimes even hated by many people in public?
Right, that is a complicated question. Well, the premise, I'm not sure I agree with the premise.
And I can expand that to include even a more mysterious question for me: Bill Gates.
What is the Bill Gates version of the question? Do you think people hate Bill Gates?
No, distrust.
Ah,
So take away one. It's a checklist. There's, I think Mark Zuckerberg's distrust is the primary one, but there's also like a dislike. Maybe hate is too strong a word, but it's just if you look at like the articles that are being written and so on, there's a dislike, and it's confusing to me because it's like the public picks certain individuals and they attach certain kinds of emotions to those individuals.
yeah. So someone once just recently said there's a strong case that founder-led companies have this problem, and that a lot of Mark's issues come from the fact that he is a visible founder with this story that people have watched in both a movie and they followed along, and he's this boy wonder kid who became one of the world's richest people, and he's no longer Mark the person. He's Mark this image of a person with enormous wealth and power. And in today's world, we have issues with enormous wealth and power for a variety of reasons. One of which is we've been stuck inside, for a year and a half, 2 years. One of which is a lot of people were really unhappy about not the last election, but the last election. And where do you take out that anger? Who do you blame but the people in charge? That's one example or one reason why I think a lot of people express anger or resentment or unhappiness with Mark. At the same time, I don't know. I pointed out to that person, I was like, well, I don't know. Like, I think a lot of people really like Elon. Like, Elon arguably, like, he kept his, factory open here throughout COVID protocols, which arguably a lot of people would be against.
While saying a bunch of crazy offensive things on the internet, they still
and like basically, gives the middle finger to the SEC, like on Twitter. And like, I don't know. I'm like, well, there's a founder and like people kind of like him.
So I do think that the founder and slash CEO of a company that's a social network company is like an extra level of difficulty. If life is a video game, you just chose the harder video game. So I mean that's why it's interesting to ask you, because you were the founder and CEO of a social network. Right.
I challenge it because
exactly. So but you're one of the rare examples. Even Jack Dorsey's disliked. Not to the degree, but it just seems harder when you're running a social media company.
It's interesting. I never thought of Jack as just like, I think generally he's well respected.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. But like he's not loved.
Yeah.
And I feel like to me, Twitter is an incredible thing.
Yeah. And again, can I just come back to this point, which seems oversimplistic, but like, I really do think how a product makes someone feel.
Yeah.
They ascribe that feeling to the founder.
Yep. So make people feel good.
So think about it. Like, let's just go with this thesis for a second.
Sure.
Okay?
I like it though.
Amazon's pretty utilitarian, right? It delivers brown boxes to your front door. Sure, you can have Alexa and you can have all these things, right? But in general, it delivers stuff quickly to you at a reasonable price, right? I think Jeff Bezos is wonderfully wealthy, thoughtful, smart guy, right? But like, people kind of feel that way about him. They're like, wow, this is really big. We're impressed that this is really big. But he's doing the same space stuff Elon's doing, but they don't necessarily ascribe the same sense of wonder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now let's take Elon. And again, this is pet theory. I don't have much proof other than my own intuition. He is literally about living the future. Mars, space. It's about wonder. It's about going back to that feeling as a kid when you looked up to the stars and asked, is there life out there? people get behind that because it's a sense of hope and excitement and innovation. And like, you can say whatever you want, but we ascribe that emotion to that person. Now, let's say you're on a social network and people make you kind of angry because they disagree with you, or they say something ridiculous, or they're living a FOMO type life where you're like, wow, I wish I was doing that thing. I think Instagram, if I were to think back, by and large, when I was there, was not about FOMO, was not about this influencer economy, although it certainly became that way closer to the end. It was about this sense of wonder and happiness and beautiful things in the world. And I don't know. I mean, like, I don't want to have a blind spot, but I don't think anyone had a strong opinion about me one way or the other.
For the longest time, the way people explained to me, I mean, if you want to go for toxicity, you go to Facebook or Twitter. If you want to go to feel good about life, you go to Instagram to enjoy, celebrate life. And
my experience when talking to people is they gave me the benefit of the doubt because of that. Yeah. But if your experience of the product is kind of makes you angry, it's where you argue. I mean, a big part of Jack might be that he wasn't actually the CEO for a very long time and only became recently. So I'm not sure how much of the connection got made. But in general, I mean, if you hate, I'm just thinking about other companies that aren't tech companies. If you hate like what a company is doing or it makes you not feel happy, I don't know, like people are really angry about Comcast or whatever. Are they even called Comcast anymore? It's like Xfinity or something, right? They had to rebrand. They became Meta, right? Yeah. It's like, but my point is, if it makes you angry.
That's beautiful, yeah. But the thing is, this is me saying this. I think your thesis is very strong and correct, has elements of correctness, but I still personally put some blame on individuals.
Of course.
I think you said Elon looking up. There's something about childlike wonder to him, like to his personality, his character. Something about, I think more so than others, where people can trust him. And there's, I don't know, Sundar Pichai is an example of somebody who's like, there's some kind. It's hard to put into words, but there's something about the human being where he's trustworthy.
Yeah.
He's human in a way that connects to us. And the same with Satya Nadella. I mean, some of these folks, something about us is drawn to them, even when they're flawed. Even like, so like your thesis really holds up for Steve Jobs, because I think people didn't like Steve Jobs, but like he delivered products and then they fell in love every time. I guess you could say that the CEO, the leader, is also a product. And if they keep delivering a product that people like by being in public and saying things that people like, that's also a way to make people happy.